What would you do if motivation never came? Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. And the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the quiet, unshakable decision to keep going anyway. Most people are waiting, waiting for the right mood, waiting for the perfect conditions, waiting for that electric surge of inspiration that will finally push them off the starting block. They scroll through motivational videos at midnight, curate vision boards, read self-help books with dog-eared pages and highlighted sentences, and then wake up the next morning doing exactly what they did the day before. Nothing. We have built an entire culture around motivation. We worship it. We chase it like a drug. We blame its absence for every abandoned goal, every broken promise we made to ourselves, every half-finished dream collecting dust in the corner of our minds. I just wasn't feeling it. I'll start when I'm ready. I need to get motivated first. But what if that's the biggest lie we've ever told ourselves? There is a word in Japanese, Gaman, that has no precise equivalent in the English language. And perhaps that is because the Western world has never fully accepted the philosophy it contains. Gaman means to endure the seemingly unbearable with patience, dignity, and self-control. It is not the explosive energy of a warrior charging into battle. It is something quieter, deeper, and infinitely more powerful. The silent resolve to bear what must be borne, to do what must be done, without complaint, without fanfare, without waiting to feel like it. No motivation, no excuses, only Gaman. This is not a motivational essay. This is better than that. This is an invitation to move beyond motivation entirely into something that actually works. The motivation myth. Let's be honest about something the self-help industry will never admit. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. Think about the last time you felt genuinely motivated. That buzzing, alive sensation where everything seemed possible, where you made plans, set alarms, wrote lists, and declared to yourself that this time was different. How long did it last? A day? 3 days? A week if you were lucky? Motivation operates like a spark, brilliant and blinding for a moment, then gone. It cannot sustain itself. It requires constant feeding, new content, new highs, new triggers. And the moment that feeding stops, so does the momentum. Neuroscience backs this up. Motivation is largely a dopamine-driven phenomenon. It's the brain's anticipation system firing up when it senses reward. But dopamine is not a worker. It is a dreamer. It flares in the presence of possibility and fades when the grind sets in. This is why the beginning of every new goal feels electric, and the middle feels like death. We were never built to be motivated all the time. We were built to survive. And survival, throughout most of human history, was not about waiting to feel inspired. It was about doing the hard, necessary, unglamorous thing because there was no other choice. The ancient Japanese understood this at a cultural and spiritual level in ways the modern world has forgotten. In Japan, Gaman is not a strategy for the extraordinary. It is a standard for the ordinary. It is how you show up to work when your body aches. It is how you hold your tongue when anger rises. It is how you continue walking when you are exhausted. Not because you feel strong, but because stopping was never part of the plan. What Gaman actually means. The word Gaman originates from Zen Buddhism, though it has woven itself so deeply into Japanese cultural identity that it now exists beyond any single tradition. At its root, it combines two kanji, ji, meaning self, or ego, and man, which originally refer to arrogance or pride. Together, they evolved to represent the act of suppressing the ego, overriding the self's desire to complain, to quit, to make excuses, and enduring with quiet grace. It is important to distinguish Gaman from mere suffering. Gaman is not masochism. It is not the glorification of pain for pain's sake. It is not the toxic endurance of something that should rightfully be changed. Rather, Gaman is the conscious, dignified choice to press forward through what is difficult but necessary, to not be controlled by discomfort, inconvenience, or the absence of enthusiasm. In the aftermath of World War II, when Japan lay in ruins, cities destroyed, an economy shattered, a population traumatized, the Japanese people did not wait for motivation to rebuild. They did not wait to feel hopeful. They practiced Gaman. They went to work. They cleared rubble. They showed up. And within a generation, they had created one of the greatest economic recoveries in modern history. Not because they felt like it, because that is what needed to be done. More recently, the world watched in stunned silence after the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, one of the most devastating natural disasters in recorded history. While an entire region faced incomprehensible loss, the scenes that emerged from Japan were of extraordinary calm, order, and quiet perseverance. People queued in orderly lines for hours in freezing temperatures. Communities organized without panic. People bore their grief inwardly while continuing to function outwardly. The world called it remarkable. Japan called it Gaman. This is not Stoicism performed for an audience. This is a deeply internalized way of being. The problem with excuses. If motivation is the myth we cling to, excuses are the architecture we build around it, the elaborate structures we construct to explain why we haven't, couldn't, shouldn't, or won't. Excuses are extraordinarily intelligent. They are not born from laziness. They are born from the mind's remarkable ability to protect itself from discomfort. Every excuse contains a grain of truth, which is what makes it so convincing. I'm tired is true. I don't have enough time is often true. The circumstances aren't right is sometimes true. But the question Gaman demands is not, is this true? The question is, does this truth give you permission to stop? In the philosophy of Gaman, the answer is almost always no. Consider the person who wants to write a book but has not yet written a word. Ask them why, and you will receive a masterpiece of rationalization. They are waiting for a quiet stretch of time. They are waiting to have a better idea. They are waiting until work settles down, until the kids are older, until they feel more confident, until they know enough. The waiting is a life's work in itself, and the book remains unwritten. Now consider the Japanese artisan, the Shokunin, who wakes before dawn every morning, not because passion is radiating through their veins, but because the craft must be attended to. The blade must be sharpened. The pot must be thrown. The tea ceremony must be prepared. There is no, I don't feel creative today. There is only the work and the dignity of showing up to do it. The Shokunin embodies Gaman without ever naming it. Their excellence is not the product of perpetual inspiration. It is the product of perpetual discipline, of a commitment to the practice that exists entirely independent of mood, circumstance, or feeling. This is the difference between those who create extraordinary lives and those who talk about creating them. Not talent, not luck, not even hard work in the conventional sense. It is the refusal to grant excuses the power to steer. The anatomy of Gaman in daily life. Gaman is not reserved for natural disasters or historical crises. It is a daily practice, a moment-by-moment choice that compounds over time into something extraordinary. It is the 5 a.m. alarm when everything in you wants to stay under the covers. The motivated person gets up because they feel like it. The Gaman practitioner gets up because they said they would. One relies on feeling. The other relies on character. It is the difficult conversation you have been avoiding with a parent, a partner, a colleague, because having it is uncomfortable and not having it is slowly poisoning something important. You do not wait until you feel brave. You feel afraid and you do it anyway, because the alternative is a slow unraveling. It is the work you return to after failing at it. The business that didn't succeed on the first attempt or the second. The relationship skill you are terrible at and must practice imperfectly for years before it becomes natural. Gaman says, You do not need to feel optimistic about the outcome. You need to return to the work. It is the health habit you maintain on the days when your body resists and your schedule conspires against you. The walk you take in the rain. The meal you prepare instead of ordering the easy thing. The sleep you protect when the screen beckons. It is the restraint you exercise when anger or frustration would have you say something irreversible. Gaman is not the suppression of emotion. It is the mastery over expression. You feel the storm. You do not become it. In every one of these moments, there is no dramatic surge of willpower. There is only the quiet, practiced commitment to the path, regardless of how the path feels underfoot. When Gaman meets the modern world is, in many ways, the enemy of Gaman. We live in an era of instant gratification, algorithmic dopamine, and the relentless messaging that comfort is your right and discomfort is a problem to be solved. Every friction point in life has been engineered away. Food arrives to your door. Entertainment adjusts to your preferences in real time. Connection is available without vulnerability. Even exercise has been gamified into reward loops. We are, as a generation, profoundly undertrained in the art of endurance. This is not a moral failing. It is an environmental one. When discomfort is systematically removed from daily life, the tolerance for it atrophies. The muscle of persistence weakens. And so when real difficulty arrives, when the goal demands months of unglamorous effort, when the relationship requires sustained patience, when the career change means years of starting over, we find ourselves without the inner resources to endure. This is precisely why Gaman matters more now than it ever has. In a world that sells you the shortcut, the life hack, the overnight transformation, the 30-day miracle, Gaman is a radical act. To say, I will not wait for motivation. I will not construct excuses. I will not negotiate with discomfort. I will simply continue. This is countercultural. This is, in a world of noise and speed and instant everything, a quiet revolution. The Gaman practitioner is not impressive in a single moment. They are impressive across time. They are the writer who produces a page a day when the world produces nothing. They are the entrepreneur who shows up to a struggling business every morning when logic says quit. They are the student who studies without inspiration, the parent who gives without depletion, the healer who holds space without collapsing. They are not special. They are disciplined. And discipline, unlike motivation, is something you build. Building the Gaman mindset. Gaman is not switched on. It is cultivated through practice, through philosophy, and through a fundamental reorientation of how you relate to difficulty. 1. Detach identity from feeling. The first step is to stop defining your capability by your current emotional state. I don't feel like it is information, not instruction. Your feelings are weather. They change. Your commitments are architecture. They should not. Train yourself to notice the feeling without obeying it. The feeling says stay in bed. The commitment says rise. Listen to the commitment. 2. Shrink the moment. Gaman does not ask you to endure the entire journey in a single breath. It asks only that you endure this moment, not the year ahead, this hour, not the entire project, this task, not the whole relationship, this conversation. When the scale of what lies ahead feels crushing, Gaman whispers, only this, only now, do the next thing, only the next thing. 3. Find meaning in the mundane. The Japanese concept of ikigai, reason for being, pairs naturally with Gaman. When you understand why the work matters, the absence of motivation becomes less catastrophic. The nurse who hates the night shift but knows their presence saves lives does not need motivation. They have meaning. Meaning is a longer burning fuel than motivation. It does not flare and vanish. It sustains. 4. Eliminate the escape routes. Excuses are exits. Every time you build one, you are widening the door through which your commitment can flee. The practice of Gaman requires you to close those doors, not dramatically, not all at once, but deliberately. Stop renegotiating with yourself. Stop giving the excuse more attention than the task. Let the excuse exist and do the thing anyway. 5. Embrace imperfect action. Gaman does not demand excellence in every moment. It demands presence. The imperfect workout is infinitely superior to the perfect one you didn't do. The rough draft written on a bad day is worth more than the polished opening line you imagined in bed at 11 p.m. but never typed. Gaman says, show up badly if you must, but show up. 6. Practice stillness under pressure. Gaman is not just about doing, it is about being. It is the practice of not reacting immediately to every frustration, not amplifying every obstacle into a crisis, not performing your struggle for the sympathy of others. In the Zen tradition from which Gaman emerged, stillness is not passivity. It is power. The capacity to absorb difficulty without being defined by it is among the rarest and most valuable human skills. The compounding power of showing up. Here is the truth that the motivational industry cannot sell you, because it is not glamorous enough. Most extraordinary lives are built not in moments of greatness, but in moments of ordinary persistence. The writer who has published 10 books does not have a secret formula. They have a decade of mornings where they sat down and wrote, many of them joyless, uninspired, mechanically productive. The athlete who wins gold did not experience their training as an unbroken stream of passion. They endured thousands of sessions where the body was wrong and the mind wanted out. What they had was Gaman. And here is the mathematical reality behind it. Showing up consistently, even imperfectly, even reluctantly, even without motivation, compounds at a rate that occasional bursts of inspired effort cannot match. The person who works every day at 70% will, over a year, produce more than the person who works 3 days at 100% and then burns out. Motivation is a sprinter. Gaman is a marathon runner. In life, in almost every arena that matters, health, relationships, craft, business, character, is a marathon, a new standard. The question this essay began with deserves an answer now. What would you do if motivation never came? If you have truly absorbed Gaman, the answer becomes clear. You would do the work anyway. You would wake up, you would begin, you would continue, you would finish, not because you felt like it, but because quitting was never actually on the table. Because you are not waiting for permission from your emotions to live the life you are capable of living. No motivation is required to take the first step, only decision. No excuses are accepted as a reason to stop. Only reality, and even then, only rarely. Only Gaman. Only the quiet, dignified, relentless practice of enduring what must be endured, doing what must be done, becoming who you are capable of becoming, one unglamorous, unsexy, uncommemorated moment at a time. The world will not always see your effort. There will be no applause for the alarm you answered at 5 a.m., the argument you refused to escalate, the work you completed while running on empty. Gaman does not perform. It does not seek validation. It needs no audience. It simply continues. And in that continuance, in that stubborn, graceful, unspectacular persistence, is built everything worth building. Not in the moments you felt unstoppable, in the moments you felt nothing at all, and moved forward anyway. That is Gaman. That is the only standard worth holding yourself to. Fall 7 times, get up 8.